Have you ever met someone who seems calm on the outside, but inside, they're carrying a storm of thoughts, feelings, and quiet power? Someone who never talks too much, never shows off, yet somehow they always notice everything? What if I told you that person might just be a Virgo? Most people think Virgo is just the organized one, the perfectionist, the neat freak. But that's just the surface. Beneath it is one of the deepest, most emotionally intelligent, and spiritually grounded signs of the entire zodiac. This isn't just about being detail-oriented. This is about someone who feels deeply but shows it silently. Someone who sees beauty in structure and healing in honesty. Someone who serves others not because they want praise, but because it's their purpose. And if you're a Virgo yourself, or you love one, this video might just help you understand them in a way you never have before. We're about to explore 18 powerful truths about Virgo that go way beyond astrology. Insights that touch on psychology, emotions, purpose, and even the soul. So grab a cup of tea, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey together. And hey, if you find something in here that speaks to you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Now, let's unlock the quiet wisdom of Virgo. There's something special about Virgo that most people don't see at first glance. You might meet them and think, oh, they seem calm, maybe a little reserved. But what you're really seeing is someone who feels everything, deeply. They just don't wear it on their sleeve. Their emotions live beneath the surface, flowing through every decision, every word, every pause. It's not that they don't feel, it's that they feel so much, they've learned to hold it with grace. That's the quiet intensity of Virgo. The kind that doesn't scream for attention, but you feel it when they're in the room. Like the friend who remembers the exact words you said in a moment of pain. Or the coworker who stays late, not for recognition, but because they want the work to be right. Virgo's emotional world is a careful mix of empathy and logic. They feel with depth, but they process with clarity. And that makes them incredibly trustworthy. You know they won't react impulsively. They'll listen. They'll think. They'll respond with care. This balance between emotion and reason is rare. It's a kind of psychological harmony that brings safety to the people around them. You can cry in front of a Virgo without feeling judged. You can admit your mess. And somehow, they help you make sense of it, not by fixing you, but by simply being present and grounded. That's the magic. And the truth is, Virgo doesn't do this for applause. They do it because something inside them whispers. Do it right. Do it with heart. A lot of people mistake Virgo's perfectionism for control. But that's not what's going on. The real story is much deeper. For Virgo, perfection isn't about being the best. It's about honoring the process. When they commit to something, a project, a relationship, even a hobby, they give it their full self. Not because they want to prove anything, but because they believe everything worth doing is worth doing well. They see their work as a reflection of who they are. So when they stay up late rewriting something for the third time, or triple-check a small detail others might overlook, it's not obsession. It's devotion. Think about someone who brings a handmade gift to a friend. Not flashy. Just thoughtful. Precise. Wrapped with care. That's Virgo. They pour their soul into small things. And those small things? They matter. Because in a world that rushes, that cuts corners, Virgo says, wait. Let's do this with intention. And yes, sometimes it's exhausting. They know that. They live with that constant voice inside, the one that says, you could have done more. But even in that struggle, there's something beautiful. Because it means they're always growing. Always evolving. They never settle. And that pushes not just themselves, but everyone around them, to rise higher. Underneath Virgo's calm exterior, there's another force quietly working, protection. Their need to analyze, to organize, to understand, it's not just a mental habit. it's an emotional shield. Life can be unpredictable. People can be messy. And for someone who feels deeply, that can be overwhelming. So Virgo builds systems, plans, lists. They take control of the external so they can find peace inside. It's not about control for the sake of power, it's about safety, clarity, meaning. You might see a Virgo who seems picky or overthinking everything. But dig deeper, and you'll find someone trying to make sense of a chaotic world. They're not afraid to dive into complexity. In fact, they prefer it. Because somewhere in the mess, they know there's truth. There's beauty. There's a solution. And they won't rest until they find it. This kind of emotional intelligence is rare. Virgo doesn't just solve problems, they solve them with heart. They ask, what's really going on here, not just to fix something, but to understand it. To care for it. To make it better in a way that lasts. Now, let's talk about their need for order. It's easy to joke about Virgos and their love for neat desks, color-coded calendars, or alphabetized bookshelves. But the truth behind that order runs deeper than aesthetics. For Virgo, structure is therapy. When their world feels organized, their mind feels safe. A clean space is more than a preference, it's a sanctuary. A way to breathe. Think about a time when everything felt out of control. Maybe you cleaned your room or organized your to-do list just to feel okay again. That's how Virgo lives every day. They're constantly creating little pockets of peace in the middle of life's chaos. And it's not just physical spaces. Virgos bring this order into relationships, into conversations, into moments. They remember important dates. They follow through on promises. They build plans when everything else is falling apart. And they do it quietly, gracefully. You might not even notice it. But when you look back, you'll realize they were the ones holding everything together. Their routines, their schedules, their systems, they're not just habits. They're coping mechanisms. Anchors. Acts of care. For themselves, and for others. That's why, in friendships and relationships, Virgo often becomes the stable one. The person others rely on. And though it can be heavy, Virgo takes that role with honor. Because deep down, helping others find balance, helps them find it too. So the next time you see a Virgo rearranging a room, rewriting a paragraph, or rethinking a plan, know that it's not about being picky. It's about finding harmony in the details, creating peace in the process, and offering something to the world that says, "This is my love," translated into form. That's the heart of Virgo. Thoughtful, quiet, powerful, and always in service of something bigger than themselves. There's something incredibly tender about the way Virgo loves. It's not flashy. It's not loud. But it's steady and real. When they care about someone, they show it in the smallest details, like remembering your favorite tea, or texting you after a hard day just to check in. They may not always say, "I love you" with grand gestures. But they say it by showing up. Over and over. Quietly. Consistently. Virgo's loyalty isn't just about standing by your side when things are good. It's about staying when things get messy. It's choosing you on your bad days, not just your best ones. And that kind of loyalty, it's rare. It doesn't come easily. Virgos don't trust blindly. They observe. They listen. They test, silently, with kindness. And when they finally let someone in, it's because they truly believe in the bond. That decision means everything to them. Think about a friend who never gossips behind your back. Who stands up for you when you're not around. Who shows up when you're sick, not because it's convenient, but because it's the right thing to do. That's Virgo love. It's rooted in principles. It's built on trust. And once you have it, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. But that same loyalty? It applies inward too. Virgo holds themselves to a standard that can be both beautiful and brutal. They're always asking, how can I do better? Not out of shame, but out of a quiet hunger for growth. They don't want to stay the same. They want to evolve. And that means they constantly examine their choices, their habits, their emotions. It's like they carry a mirror inside. Always reflecting back, not judgment, but possibility. This inner dialogue, though, can be intense. Because Virgos often see the gap between who they are and who they want to become. That can create pressure. But here's the beauty, they don't run from it. They lean in. They ask hard questions. They do the work. And over time, that work leads to real transformation. If you're someone who struggles with self-worth or direction, watch a Virgo. Not because they have it all figured out, but because they're honest about the journey. They'll remind you that it's okay to not have all the answers. What matters is that you keep showing up. Keep refining. Keep trying. Virgo teaches us that becoming isn't a destination, it's a daily practice. And in that practice, they often choose solitude. Not because they're antisocial, but because they need space to breathe, to think, to feel. Virgo is deeply introspective. They'll replay a conversation in their head 10 times just to understand what someone really meant. They'll sit alone with a journal or a cup of tea, not because they're lonely, but because it helps them return to themselves. That kind of self-reflection is a gift. In a world that moves too fast, Virgo slows down. They pause. They ask, what do I feel? What do I need? What do I believe? And in those quiet moments, they find answers that others miss. That's why they're often the ones who give the best advice. Not because they know everything, but because they've taken the time to know themselves. If you ever feel lost or disconnected, try taking a page from Virgo's book. Sit with yourself. Light a candle. Turn off the noise. Ask the questions you've been avoiding. It's not always comfortable, but it's healing. And that's something Virgo understands on a soul level. Healing isn't about fixing what's broken. It's about making space for what's true. And part of that truth is the body. Virgo has a deep connection to health and well-being. They notice how food affects their mood. How sleep changes their clarity. How stress creeps into their shoulders or stomach or skin. They're not just focused on fitness, they're tuned into the whole mind-body system. And they care for it with intention. You'll often find Virgos reading ingredient labels, choosing organic, or gently reminding others to drink more water. It might seem like a small thing, but to them, it's sacred. Taking care of the body is a form of respect. It's how they stay grounded. It's how they stay sane. And when they see people they love neglecting themselves, it hurts. Because Virgo knows, the body remembers. The body reflects. And the body deserves care. If you're struggling with burnout or imbalance, Virgo offers a quiet invitation, come back to the basics. Eat something nourishing. Go for a walk. Take deep breaths. Create a routine that helps you feel human again. Virgo doesn't preach. They model. They remind us that self-care isn't luxury, it's responsibility. It's love in action. What ties all of this together is Virgo's need for alignment. Between their values and their choices. Their feelings and their actions. Their intentions and their impact. And that alignment starts with the self. That's why they're always adjusting. Always fine-tuning. Not to be perfect, but to be real. Whole. Clear. It's in this pursuit that Virgo becomes a guide. A quiet lighthouse in the storm. Not shouting, look at me, but gently glowing, saying, here I am. Steady. Safe. Still growing. And as we move deeper into this journey, the next insights we'll explore may surprise you. Because the final points we're about to uncover reveal the most spiritually complex, and sometimes controversial, truths about Virgo's role in love, in purpose, and in the quiet power they carry into the world. You won't want to miss what comes next. There's a quiet kind of wisdom in the way Virgo communicates. They don't waste words. They don't speak just to fill silence. But when they talk, especially when someone needs them, they choose their words with care. They listen with intention. They ask the kind of questions that make you stop and think. Not because they want to challenge you, but because they want to understand you. Deeply. Without judgment. Being heard is rare in this world. Really heard. Not interrupted. Not dismissed. Virgo creates that space. That pause. That moment where you can exhale and finally say what's been sitting in your chest for days. And even if you ramble or cry or struggle to make sense of what you feel, they stay with you. They nod. They lean in. They take it seriously. Because to Virgo, someone else's truth is never a burden. It's a window. A connection. A chance to help. And when they respond, it's not fluff. It's thoughtful. Grounded. Practical. Not always what you want to hear, but always what you need. That's why so many people turn to Virgos when life gets messy. Because they don't panic. They don't make it about themselves. They bring calm into the chaos. They bring clarity into confusion. Their emotional intelligence isn't always loud, but it runs deep. They notice when your voice changes. When your energy dips. When you're pretending you're okay but your eyes tell a different story. And they hold that awareness with tenderness. Because they know what it's like to feel overwhelmed. To carry weight in silence. To need someone, but not know how to ask. If you've ever had a Virgo in your corner, you'll understand this. You'll remember the time they sent you a message out of nowhere, just because they had a feeling. Or the time they remembered your big meeting, or your mom's surgery, or the anniversary of something painful, and checked in. Not out of obligation. But out of genuine care. That's Virgo. And their work ethic, it's something else. It's not just about being productive. It's about showing respect, to themselves, to others, and to the task at hand. When Virgo commits to something, they treat it with seriousness. Whether it's a job, a relationship, or even a personal project no one else will ever see. They give it their best. Always. They're the ones who double-check the presentation the night before. Who fix the small mistakes no one else noticed. Who stay behind to help clean up, even when no one asked. Not because they're trying to impress. But because it matters. Because they believe in excellence. And because they know the little things aren't little at all. This dedication, though, can be misunderstood. People might think Virgo is uptight or too intense. But the truth is, they're just deeply invested. They care. About quality. About integrity. About the impact their actions have on others. And that kind of care, it creates trust. It builds respect. It sets a standard. If you're someone who struggles with follow-through or motivation, watch how a Virgo works. They don't wait for inspiration. They create discipline. They build systems that support their goals. And they keep going, even on the days when it's hard. Especially on those days. That's what makes them reliable. Not talent. Not luck. But consistency. Effort. Quiet devotion. And what's even more remarkable is that Virgo doesn't seek praise. They don't need a spotlight. In fact, they often shy away from it. Their humility runs deep. They do the work because it needs to be done. Not because they want applause. Not because they need to be the hero. But because it's the right thing to do. In group settings, Virgo is often the one who holds everything together behind the scenes. The one who organizes the plan. Sends the reminders. Fills in the gaps others overlook. And when it all goes well, they don't claim credit. They smile quietly. They move on to the next task. That's the kind of humility the world needs more of. The kind that leads without ego. That gives without demanding anything in return. And this humility isn't about thinking less of themselves. It's about knowing their worth doesn't depend on validation. It's about finding fulfillment in the process, not just the result. It's about knowing there's always something more to learn. Something more to give. Something more to become. This mindset is powerful. Especially in a world that often rewards noise over depth. Virgo reminds us that it's okay to grow slowly. To learn quietly. To shine without shouting. They show us that wisdom doesn't always come from the loudest voice, but from the most grounded presence. If you're on a path of growth right now, and you feel like you're not moving fast enough, or loud enough, or big enough, remember Virgo. Remember that steady, humble energy. The kind that plants roots before reaching for the sky. The kind that transforms lives, not through noise, but through presence. And as we continue this journey through Virgo's spirit, the next few truths will take us even deeper. Into the realm of love, purpose, and personal power. These final 3 insights are perhaps the most revealing, and for some, the most unexpected. What you'll hear next may challenge what you think you know, not just about Virgo, but about what it really means to live with quiet strength. Have you ever worked on something complicated, something that felt overwhelming, and found yourself unsure where to even begin? That's where Virgo shines the most. In the moments where others freeze, they break it down. Bit by bit. Step by step. They don't just dive in blindly, they pause, assess, and figure out where to start. Their brain naturally sees structure in chaos. It's like watching someone solve a puzzle without getting frustrated by the mess of it. This ability to handle complexity isn't just a skill, it's a mindset. Virgo knows that even the hardest problems can be solved if you approach them with care and patience. They know that big things are really just a lot of little things stacked together. So they stay calm. They focus. And they begin. You'll often find them writing things down, drawing diagrams, making lists, asking thoughtful questions. Not because they're trying to show off, but because that's how they create clarity. That's how they move forward when others get stuck. If you're feeling lost in your own goals, try doing what Virgo does. Break the big thing into small pieces. Don't try to do it all at once. Just do the next right thing. Then the next. It's not about rushing, it's about doing things well, one layer at a time. Virgo teaches us that precision isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. And that intention? It changes everything. You'll also notice that Virgo has a unique relationship with money and resources. They're not flashy spenders. They're not impulsive buyers. But they're also not stingy. What they are is thoughtful. Strategic. A Virgo knows the value of $1 because they know the value of effort. They work hard for what they have, and they make careful decisions about how to use it. This sense of financial wisdom often starts early. Maybe they watched someone in their family struggle to make ends meet. Or maybe they learned through their own experiences that stability comes from planning, not luck. Either way, Virgo approaches money with respect. They save. They invest. They track. But most importantly, they understand that money is not just about wealth, it's about freedom. It's about peace of mind. It's about creating a life that's sustainable, not just impressive. And they apply this same mindset to time and energy too. Virgos are often very aware of their limits. They know when to say no. They know when their energy is running low. They don't waste hours on things that don't align with their values. It's not that they're cold, it's that they're clear. And that clarity helps them avoid burnout. It helps them stay grounded. And it gives them the ability to be present when it matters most. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed lately, financially, emotionally, or energetically, Virgo offers a gentle reminder: simplify. Be honest about what you can handle. Be wise with your time. And treat your resources as extensions of your energy, not your ego. That's where true stability lives. This brings us to one of Virgo's most underrated strengths, their meticulous nature. It shows up in the little things, but it carries big meaning. The way they double-check their work. The way they organize their thoughts. The way they notice that one light bulb that flickered in the corner of the room. It might seem minor to others. But to Virgo, it matters. Because every detail is part of the whole. They're the kind of person who spots the typo in a presentation 5 minutes before it's due. Who rearranges the chairs so everyone at the table has equal space. Who catches the small error that could have ruined an entire project. Not because they're controlling, but because they care. They care deeply. About outcomes. About people. About doing things right. This level of attention can sometimes feel intense to those around them. But once you understand it, you realize it's actually an act of love. Virgo's focus on detail is their way of protecting what they value. It's their way of saying, this matters. You matter. Let me help make this better. If you're someone who tends to overlook the little things, being close to a Virgo can be life-changing. They'll teach you to slow down. To look closer. To honor the process, not just the result. And in doing that, you'll find that you start showing up differently, not just for others, but for yourself. There's a kind of sacredness in how Virgo approaches everything. Even the ordinary becomes meaningful. Even the mundane becomes mindful. It's in the way they fold laundry. The way they prepare a meal. The way they arrange a workspace. They bring care to every moment. And that care ripples out. It uplifts. It inspires. That's the kind of presence Virgo brings into the world. And it's often unspoken. Unnoticed. But it's always there, like the steady hum of something honest and true. Now, as we near the final stretch of this journey, we're about to open the door to the 3 most revealing traits of Virgo. These final insights may surprise you. They dig into the spiritual, the emotional, and even the hidden parts of Virgo that not everyone sees. Some may find them deeply validating, others may find them a little uncomfortable. But one thing is certain, they hold the key to understanding Virgo's truest power. And what comes next might just shift the way you see them, forever. There's a side of Virgo that many people overlook. A side that runs deeper than analysis, deeper than logic. It's their intuition. Quiet, subtle, but incredibly powerful. You might think of Virgo as someone who relies only on facts. Data, evidence. But the truth is, they have a strong gut. They just don't act on it without checking it against reality. That's the Virgo way. They feel things before others do. They sense when something's off in the energy of a room. They know when someone's hiding sadness behind a smile. They pick up on emotional undercurrents that most people miss. But instead of jumping to conclusions, they observe. They wait. They reflect. They allow their intuition to meet their logic halfway. And when both agree, they trust themselves fully. This ability to hold both intuition and reason creates a kind of wisdom that's rare. It makes them excellent decision makers. It allows them to protect themselves, and others, from situations that just don't feel right. And because they've trained themselves to pay attention to the subtle things, they can often see problems coming before they actually happen. It's the friend who says, "I don't know why, but I feel like we should check on her." And they're right. It's the colleague who quietly adjusts the plan before the crisis hits. Not out of fear, but from foresight. Virgo's insight isn't loud. It doesn't demand attention. But it's almost always accurate. And it reminds us all of something important. Listening to yourself doesn't mean ignoring logic. It means allowing all parts of you, heart, mind, and gut, to work together. And maybe the most transformative truth about Virgo is this: they don't need recognition to lead. They lead by example. They lead through presence, through consistency, through doing what's right when no one's watching. In a world that often celebrates loud voices and big personalities, Virgo teaches us the power of stillness. The power of grounded energy. Of showing up fully, without shouting. You'll see them taking care of the small things that keep life moving. Supporting others behind the scenes. Building foundations for others to grow from. They don't need a title. They don't need applause. They just need to know that what they're doing matters. And it always does. When someone is hurting, Virgo will hold space for their pain. When a task needs doing, they'll step in quietly. When the world feels too fast, too loud, too chaotic, Virgo becomes the calm, the balance, the reminder that slow and steady is still a form of power. And maybe you've never noticed it. Maybe they've been in your life all along, doing what they do, holding things together, without ever needing thanks. Maybe you are that Virgo. The one who gives more than they get. Who loves without needing to be seen. Who tries so hard, so often, and still wonders if it's enough. If that's you, this is your reminder. You are more than enough. Not because you're perfect, but because you care. Because you try. Because you bring light into places others overlook. That is your gift. That is your strength. And that brings us to the end of this journey. Virgo is so much more than a label or a stereotype. They are the quiet force that keeps the world steady. The thinker. The healer. The one who sees the cracks and tries to fill them with love, patience, and truth. They may not always be noticed, but they are always essential. So if you saw yourself in these words, or someone you love, let this be a moment of reflection. Of appreciation. Of soft pride. Virgo teaches us that depth doesn't always come with drama. That growth can be quiet. That love can be shown in the smallest, most meaningful ways. If this video spoke to something inside you, consider subscribing to the channel. Not because it's expected, but because you want more of this kind of space. A space for truth. For emotion, for quiet wisdom. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who gives so much but rarely feels seen, share this with them. Let them know they're not alone. There's more to come. More signs. More stories. More truths we often miss beneath the surface. So stay close. Because sometimes, the quietest voices carry the deepest truths.